this is Bumbleberry, and welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War. Let's get our training on. Saero brought me to the Grand Hall, which he had apparently claimed as his personal training grounds, as Sergeant had to use the official grounds for the army. Personal training grounds?
When I train my lady, I bring her here. That way she is not seen by the army.
Why would her being seen by the army be an issue?
It's not a matter of it being an issue. We simply choose to train together alone.
Get more energy that way. I nodded. If Diana had her reasons, then that was enough for me. Saero nodded in return before holding his hand out to the side.
Now, do you have a preferred weapon of choice? Choose wisely. You need to focus and master one weapon if you wish to benefit from this training. I won't allow you to change your mind later.
Oh, great. I stared at Saero, unsure of why he would ask me that. However, I closed my eyes and thought for a moment. There were a couple of weapons I could think of. I thought of a gun, but what if human guns were powerless here? And yeah, the demon who had a gun wasn't extremely useful. After all, demons had magic on their side. If they were powerful enough, maybe even a speeding bullet could be blocked with ease. I sighed and thought of what melee weapon I could use. A sword surprised me. I already know Tae Kwan Do. I'm tempted to do surprise me, but Tae Kwan Do seems kind of fun. I know Tae Kwan Do. Saero shook his head. What?
You need a weapon for this war. Fighting barehanded is not wise against an army.
Well, excuse me. You know about Tae Kwan Do?
I do, but you are changing the subject. What is your desired weapon?
Surprise me. Saero stared in surprise. What? I was ambitious enough to try anything. Why not? He probably knew more about weapons than I did anyway. Look at that face. He's like, really, human? Anyway, Saero then gave me a small smirk before allowing me a black and purple mist to envelop his hand. I found myself growing nervous. What if he gave me a small dagger or something really hard to learn? I began to regret electing for a surprise. What is that? It's a large lavender triangular blade sticking out from what looked like a round gauntlet. As Saero walked towards me, he formed a copy of the weapon in his other hand and handed it to me, the openings of each gauntlet facing towards me. I raised an eyebrow at him. Was he really expecting me to stick my hand in those?
What, afraid to try something new now?
No. I just have no idea what that is. He looks so gleeful. He's like, yes. I shook my head. I had asked for this and was confident enough to try them. I slid my hands into the gauntlets and felt my fingers brush against the inner handles, allowing me to grip the weapons in each hand with ease. I lifted the weapons from Saero's grip and observed them. Then I punched him! No, I'm just kidding. They seemed very light, almost feather-like, but I could feel the energy pulsating from them. What are these?
Gauntlet daggers. The human world has a similar version of these weapons called katars, if I'm not mistaken.
They seem pretty light.
They may be light, but they can be incredibly deadly if used properly. Imagine them as extensions of your arms.
I gulped. Would I be able to learn how to use these properly enough to defend myself? I wasn't sure. Saero walked away from me before forming his spear and gripping it tightly, ready to begin our session.
Trust your instincts. I'll go slow so you can adjust yourself to the weapon. However, I won't remain slow for long.
I stared at Saero, now full settling into what I had signed up for. I was learning how to defend myself and possibly how to kill someone else. I felt a nervous shiver run up my spine before taking a breath and trying to relax my muscles. Saero seemed to take a breath as my signal to prepare as he took a step back and readied himself with his stance.
Are you ready?
I nodded. I had asked to be trained. If I wasn't ready then, I wouldn't ever be. Saero crouched down, gripping his spear before lunging for me, ready to skewer me on his blade. I am not a kebab. No, thank you. Parry. I focused on the spear and swiped one of the katars I held at it, making both of them collide. Ooh, the spear angled away from its target. I was shocked at his strength. I only managed to push his weapon away with adrenaline helping my own strength against him. Dodge? I don't know, there's like a thing. I bent back, watching the blade swipe over my body and through the air. As I quickly straightened up, I noticed how open his body was for an attack. He was serious. Well, so was I. I felt powerful as I readied to attack him. I lunged in and prepared to pierce him with my own attack. However, Saero moved his spear across his body, blocking my attack and pushing me back. I growled at myself for not seeing the strength of his defense. As I landed, though, I saw a small smirk on Saero's face. Was he proud of me or was he mocking me? Either way, I used the momentum to lunge forward again, continuing our sparring match. Whoa, it got dark. Anyway, we continued to train relentlessly through the day. Each break we had was small, but I understood why. I only had a week to learn how to fight after all. Time wasn't on our side when it came to me learning how to fight, or at least defend myself. As we finished a sparring session and slowed to take another break, I let out a sigh. I was exhausted, but I knew I had to keep going. If the incubi were going to keep training, I had to keep up as well. Saero let out a small sigh and stretched, wiping some sweat from the side of his brow before looking to me.
Let's take a break for now.
Yeah, good idea. I collapsed onto the floor on my rear and slouched over my crossed legs, thankful to no longer be on my feet. I thought Tae Kwan Do was hard, but fighting with a weapon was proving itself to be even harder. I felt a little envious for people who were able to master weaponry.
I have to admit, I'm impressed. For the first time holding a weapon, you did pretty well. My lady had to train for months to try and use her weapon properly.
Well, what does Diana use? I was curious about her. I knew she had magic, but did she really even need a weapon? Of course, if her energy ran out, then she would need some sort of protection. Saero stared wide-eyed at me for a second before smiling softly. If you say her vagina, I'm going to be so mad.
She uses a saber, a curved sword. While regular straight swords are good for piercing your opponent, curved blades are made for slashing and cutting your opponent down. They're a little difficult to maneuver without in-depth training.
Saero looked down to his hand, forming a saber with a black grip and a deep purple blade. It looked like a masterwork blade despite it forming out of his magic. As Saero stared at it, his smile brightened a bit. Oh, your hand is behind your back.
A saber is much more graceful in combat than a regular sword. Anyone can wield it, but it takes a true master of the blade to use a saber properly and make a fight look like an elegant dance.
Ooh, someone has a crush. I was in awe. I could see a soft shadow of adoration in his eyes as he spoke. Did he really adore his mistress that much? You seem to really care for Diana. Saero looked to me with a chuckle.
I don't just care for my lady.
Well, that was obvious. I guess he's admitting it. The way he spoke about her spoke volumes of his affections for her. As Saero looked to me, a flash of realization washed over his eyes. What?
You're human, so you would understand.
What? What do I understand? Understand what?
Love.
You love her! Oh my gosh. I stared at him, knowing the meaning of the word, but not understanding what he meant by saying it. What about love?
Well...
For a moment, Saero looked back to the saber in his hand before shaking his head.
Never mind. It's nothing.
What do you mean? I wanted to ask more, but a pair of footsteps echoed through the room from the door, causing me to turn around and see who it was. Eric? Oh, Diana. Glistening with a thin layer of sweat and wiping her brow, stepped into the room with a smile. I could hear Saero's breath hitch softly as Diana walked in. She did a small hair toss, most likely to get some cool air behind her neck before looking to her guard and my trainer.
How is training going?
Going fine, my lady. How are the airs?
They're strong, but not strong enough. At least not yet. It will take more time to get them up to par with where they need to be for the war. They've been in the human world for too long, and they've lost their sense of real battle.
I love Diana's hair. Look how swooshy it is. In haste, Diana looked to me and held up her hand towards me as if to ask for forgiveness.
No offense to you, of course.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. I understood the human world was vastly different from the demon world, so the boys had become humanized and softened. Still, I was sure that they would train hard and become better than the demon lord.
Anyway, I was just taking a break and wanted to check in. Had to make sure you didn't kill our guest, Saero.
I would never!
Diana's laughter filled the room as Saero's face brightened to a hot pink tinge.
I'm merely joking. I trust you, Saero. Besides, she can take care of herself.
Obviously, I'm super fabulous. I know Tae Kwan Do. Diana looked at me with a nod and a smile, as if she knew I would be okay. At least in Saero's hands.
I'll leave you both be then. I'm sure that after we're finished training, your husband will want to replenish his energy. And it wouldn't do if you were still training here when he finishes.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Ew. Stop setting me up. With that, Diana turned and walked out of the room. Saero and I kept our eyes on her before I looked over to the suddenly love-struck guard. His eyes were glued to the door that Diana left from, almost unblinking. I'll let him stare. There was no harm in letting him be weird for a little while. As he stared at the door, I stretched my neck. Finally, Saero snapped out of it and looked to me, blushing and wide-eyed.
Sorry. Where were we?
Nowhere. Training.
Training! Right. Let's go again.
Best moment of the game so far. In a complete reversal, Sarah's expression hardened to a serious stare at me. I nodded, knowing that the break we had was now over. Once more, we trained and continued until dinner rolled around, and as the soft echo of dinner-time bells reverberated through the halls of the castle, Sarah and I went our separate ways, him to his lady, me to my bedroom. Dun, dun, dun. I am exhausted. My body felt completely at the mercy of the fluffy mattress beneath me. Today was rough. Luckily, before I came back to the room, I had been shown bathrooms where I could relieve myself and bathe properly. At least hygiene wouldn't be an issue. I had bathed in a crystal clear water before turning in my bed and... Where am I reading this? Before returning to my room and flopping onto the bed like a bum. I heard the door open and close, followed by a soft pattern of labored footsteps walking around the bed and stopping on the other side. I knew it was Eric, but I turned my head to verify my guess. It was correct. However, I felt my face flush at the sight. Oh! Eric was shirtless, and his skin was beautifully covered in water droplets. His hair was damp, and his breathing was labored. He must have trained hard, if not harder than me at least, and bathed right afterwards. Hi.
Good evening, love.
I could tell that he wanted to flop onto the bed and simply pass out, but something held him back. I tilted my head at him, making Eric smile.
I'm going over what happened today.
And?
Do you feel disgusted by me?
Obviously. No, weirdo. I kept my eyes on Eric, letting my mind wander a bit over him. I still loved him and didn't feel the need to yell at him or push him away. I had to assume the spirit was still resting from Saero's attack. Nope. Eric nodded before climbing onto bed and leaning against the bedpost. I could cuddle or sit next to him. Let's sit next to him. I sat next to him and pressed back against the bedpost, letting a tired yawn escape me.
It's been a long while since I've trained like that.
Since Malix, right? Eric nodded with a smile at me. I remembered Malix, that darned monster with the guns and stuff. He wanted to kill the boys and even kidnap me as bait. Luckily, he didn't last long. During that time he was around, though, Eric had trained hard and done the best he could. I was kind of proud to see him going at it again. I yawned and got ready for bed. The darkness welcomed me into its embrace as Eric wrapped his arms around me protectively. Are you crying? Cries of the spirit reverberated through my mind. I knew Eric would take a bit to enter my dreams, but I could only look around as the sound of the spirit whimpering echoed around me in the dark. Hello?
Go away!
Finally, the orb appeared. It wasn't bobbing up and down in the air like it usually had before. It was lying on the ground like a ball. I walked over and crouched before sitting down in front of it. The sounds of its whimpers made my heart hurt. Did Saero's attack really hurt it that badly? Even more than that, it was apparently a child. I don't know if we should say anything. Don't say
Why
anything.
did you do that?
I didn't do it. We just wanted to try and get you out of my body.
Why did you hurt me?
Every word of the spirit felt like a knife going through my heart. I didn't mean to hurt it, but we had to try. I was certain the intention of the attack was to expel the spirit, not to hurt it.
You're just like him.
Like him? You mean Eric?
No. The evil man.
Evil man. I stared at the spirit, gently lifted itself off the ground, and began to slowly bob up and down in front of me.
The evil man that killed me.
Oh, Demon Lord! My body froze as I suddenly heard the Demon Lord's laughter all around me. The voice bounced through the air, sending wave upon wave of fear through my body in an endless cycle. However, the spirit didn't react. Was the spirit causing the voice? The spirit lowered itself back onto the ground and laid still, the purple's aura still rippling around it.
You're gonna hurt me again.
Me? No, I won't. I didn't want it to be hurt. Expelling it was one thing, causing it pain was another. There had to be some way to force it out without hurting it any more than we already did. I felt a hand suddenly place itself on my shoulder, and the Demon Lord's voice faded into silence. I quickly turned to see Eric, looking down at me with a concerned expression.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
The icky man is back.
Eric ignored the spirit and gently turned my body to face
Don't
him.
listen to whatever that spirit says. We'll expel it soon enough.
You don't care about her. You just care about babies.
Whoa. I stared instinctively as Eric summoned his tendrils ready to attack, but his expression melted into concern. Something was holding him back, and it made me a bit worried. Why do you look sad, Eric? I don't want you to be sad. Was the spirit telling the truth? The spirit simply faded into the dark without continuing the conflict, leaving us alone. Eric?
Yes, my princess?
Why do you look so toasted? Do you want me to be pregnant? I had to know. He reacted so violently towards the spirit at the mention of children. Eric's face, however, contorted from the concern. It melted into a look of confusion.
Where is this coming from?
I just wanted to know. Eric sighed and nodded, making a small lump in my stomach harden. He really wanted me to be pregnant? Probably not this second, though, just in the future. Before I could speak, though, Eric has raised his head with a kind and soft smile.
I would be happy to have you bear my children and for you to be a wonderful mother, but not unless you want to. You would be the one bearing the burden the longest.
No. My heart skipped multiple beats. I was shocked at his words. Eric continued.
In the demon world, it is a regular occurrence for incubi and succubi to breed as often as possible. It's only natural that I'd want children, princess. However, you are a human, and even more so, you are the one I love. I obey your every command.
Aw, Eric. Before my eyes, Eric slowly wrapped his arms around my form and kissed my forehead. The warmth of his embrace made my entire body melt, but I wrapped my arms around him in return.
We're not even married yet. We can probably wait until after we say our vows before we think about children.
Yeah. A small laugh erupted from me as I nuzzled into Eric's chest. He was right. We didn't have to think about it now. I shouldn't have let the idea get to me. Right. I nodded in reply, just wanting to completely immerse myself in Eric's arms. The night passed by and morning rose. To my surprise, I woke up alone. I scanned the room for Eric, but found myself in the room by myself. Eric?
He left to go train with his brother, sweetie.
Okay. I turned my head to the sound of Diana's voice. The door was open with Diana standing in the archway, holding a tray of pancakes. My stomach growled at the sight, but something in my heart felt giddy as well as seeing Diana with food.
Here, something warm today.
Making pancakes. I like demon pancakes. I'm not going to sing it. I'm embarrassing. Diana passed me the plate as I began to eat. I knew that I had to work hard myself today, so I needed all the energy I could get. Diana, however, watched me as I ate. Shouldn't I be giving Eric some energy? As her gaze got the better of my nerves, I looked at her with a confused look. What?
Do you know the child that's in your body?
No. She pressed her lips together in an irritated line. I felt a little bad that I couldn't be of more help, but the spirit didn't have a name, at least not one that I knew of. Diana shook her head and leaned against the wall, crossing her arms and legs.
Well, we'll be able to expel it soon enough. I have Shadow in charge of figuring out how to sever the ties that spirit has on your body and forcing it free.
Sure, sounds good. The crying spirit and the tears it wept as I entered my dreams reimagined. Would this new method hurt the spirit? Will it hurt the spirit? Diana stared in shock at my question.
You're concerned for the spirit's safety over your own.
Not over my own, but I'm concerned. Well, we really heard it last time. It was crying. Diana clicked her teeth and shook her head.
That spirit is clinging to you and using its emotions to make you feel sorry for it. It wants you to love it, so you will let it stay in your body.
Was that really the case? A child who was hurt cries mostly when they are seriously hurting, but what if Diana was right? What if it was trying to manipulate me? There were too many questions in my head. I shook out my thoughts and continued to eat, finishing the pancakes. No more pancakes. Diana pushed herself off the wall and began to leave the room, but stopped to look back at me with a concerned face.
Does the spirit ever enter your dreams?
All the time? Yes, it does. Diana stared at me for a moment, most likely trying to form her thoughts into words before speaking. When she did, I couldn't stop myself from going wide-eyed.
You know, there is a way we can stop the spirit from communicating with you until we can expel it.
I stared in shock. Why wasn't this brought up before? Diana grimaced at my expression and sighed.
The spirit is a child, and is most likely repulsed by romance and sex. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah. But why does that have to do with stopping it?
The spirit is feeding on and using your energy. The only way to stop it is to drain yourself of energy.
That's hilarious. She wasn't serious, was she? She expected me to give Eric all of my energy all the time? What about my training? Diana turned fully to me and crossed her arms. Just do it at night.
Essentially, after training, give your remaining energy to your fiancé. Kiss, hug, fuck, it doesn't matter. As long as your energy is completely drained. You'll sleep, and because you'll have no energy, the spirit won't be able to appear in your dreams. You'll have an empty sleep.
It made sense, but at the same time I felt a little out of place. Eric needed my energy to survive, yes, but to give him all of my energy? Part of me felt a little excited to do it, while the other side of me felt it was completely wrong to give energy for that reason. Diana shrugged, breaking my thoughts and making me give my full attention once again.
It's up to you. We should have the means to expel the spirit in a day or two.
Thank you. I was curious, however, why Diana was interested in helping me. She was already doing so much for me and the others by helping me get back to the human world. Before Diana could turn to leave, I stood up from the bed. Diana, why are you helping us with this anyway? Diana's gaze burned into mine as her expression softened. Something in her eyes showed a form of weakness, almost reflecting the eyes of an innocent child. What the—
You may not believe it, but I do actually enjoy aiding people. When I can, at least.
Well, you helped me with Damien. Even though that was the dumbest ending ever. I could only stare at Diana in surprise. I could tell she was being genuine just from the sound of her voice, and the look in her eyes made me feel like somehow crying. For some reason, I found myself dropping my empty plate on the floor and rushing to Diana, hugging her tightly. She tensed within my arms and stared wide-eyed at me. I couldn't stop myself from hugging her. I wasn't in control of myself. What was going on? Mr. Spirit Face, help me.
Dear, what are you?
I didn't speak again. I wanted to, but I couldn't. Was the spirit in control again? Diana finally relaxed in my arms and wrapped her arms around my form, petting over my hair gently. Is this like her sister or something?
How pitiful.
With each stroke, I felt anxiety wane and clear from my body. From where they came, I will never know, but I couldn't do anything but allow it to pass. Diana seemed to be some form of comfort for the spirit.
However you got into this body, we will free you, child.
Aw, I felt myself nod. However, oh my gosh, Diana's draining my body. Let her take it. She was taking my energy so that the spirit couldn't control me. I had to let her do it. As my body became weaker and weaker, the control on my body became more and more obtainable. Finally, my body felt light, but I found function in my nerves and limbs to function of my own coalition.
Are you yourself again?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Diana. You were so helpful. To my surprise, her eyes were glowing a bright gold, probably from the energy she had taken from me. However, it had to be done for me to regain my body. Diana's eyes returned to their normal red color as she smiled.
For now, rest a bit. You'll be able to regain some energy and be able to train as if nothing had happened. As long as you're not brimming with it, the spirit shouldn't be able to take control of you again.
I don't understand this energy thing. Alright, so I'm going to take a nap, and we're doing some more training. My heart is at peace. Was the spirit appeased with Diana's intervention? I couldn't see why it would have been.
She's very special. That's why.
What is going on? We need to deal with this next time. I'll see you all in the next episode. Stay sweet, and don't forget to like and comment and do whatever you want, because you're awesome.